We have breaking news from the NHL. The Ottawa Senators have a new head coach, and his name is Travis Green. We'll review Green's resume and why this is the pick for Steve Staios and Michael Andlauer coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some breaking news from the NHL. We have a new head coach for the Ottawa Senators, and it's Travis Green. As I reported yesterday, there was some talk and speculation that he had become the front runner, and it looks as though they might have been closing in on a deal. And well, now here we are. Travis Green has signed a 4-year contract to be the head coach of the Ottawa Senators. Now, I know some Sens fans on social media were reacting negatively. I know some of the more rational people that have either, some of them were more people that either work in media or podcasts, kind of done a little more digging research on this guy. And to some degree, I think it kind of calmed down. Some of the fans may not know a lot about Green, but at the end of the day, I think people were looking because they keep hearing best in class from Michael Andlauer, and I guess they were expecting more experience, more pedigree, more fancier resume, so to speak. But I really think you need to give Travis Green a chance. I know a lot of people were wanting Craig Berube, but to be honest, I think Green has a lot of similar personality traits and characteristics as Berube. Not quite as an accomplished coach right now. Doesn't mean he won't get there, though, at some point. The fact is, they're both the type of coach that will be really tough on their players. We know Steve Staios was looking for a couple of key qualities in the next Senators coach, and it was somebody who would preach accountability, somebody who was not afraid to push his players, have a tough, hard training camp, and was not going to accept substandard play. Most of you likely know Travis Green from his stint as head coach of the Vancouver Canucks, where he spent for a little over 4 years himself. He had some pretty young, talented players there in their very early days of their careers, like Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson, for example. And if you go back, if you paid attention, you were watching, he was not afraid to be tough on them. And they did do a lot of growth under him. He's a good coach for a younger team. I mean, Travis Green, of course, was an NHL player. He was very much involved during his time with the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Sens Leafs when that rivalry was at its peak in the Battle of Ontario in the early 2000s, when they were both a lot more competitive and obviously had some playoff battles. Green, with Darcy Tucker, was a menace to Ottawa at one point. But obviously, like I said, he's played the game. He's been a pro player himself, played a very tough style, grinding style of game. And, well, here we are. He's the same kind of coach. He was a 2013 WHL championship coach in the Western Hockey League. So, obviously, he came up through Western Canada. He's a BC guy himself, so that's the area he grew up in. Started coaching WHL, was a championship coach at the junior level. That's not nothing. After leaving the WHL, of course, he goes on to get a coach as the American Hockey League coach for Utica. Utica, at that point, had a couple of up and down years, but there was one year that he brought them all the way to the Calder Cup finals. They didn't win the championship, but they did go to the finals. So again, that's a good thing on his resume. During his time in Vancouver, the record may not have been fantastic, but they did have a little bit of playoff success. And you got to remember, the GM, Jim Benning, at the time, in my opinion, did a lot of questionable moves with the roster, which the coach has no control over. And I think Green did a lot of good things, but is there things that he could have done better? Yes. Was it all on Green, the reason why they didn't have success? No, but was he part of it? Sure. And they cleaned house at the same time, moving on from Green and Benning and bringing in the new regime. Look who came in after Travis Green, Rick Tocchet. Did Rick Tocchet have a phenomenal record as a head coach prior to going to the Canucks this year or last year? No, he didn't. He was primarily a head coach in Arizona. Arizona's record, not great. He's doing phenomenal things in Vancouver right now. Take a look at Andrew Brunette. Andrew Brunette took over in Florida after Joel Quenneville was let go, linked to the Chicago abuse scandal. Okay, he takes over. They did good things, lost in the playoffs. Bill Zito didn't have confidence in Brunette to be the guy. Thought they needed more experience. Brought in Paul Maurice. Okay, Brunette gets overlooked. What happens then? He's the associate coach in New Jersey. Then he becomes the head coach again in Nashville, where somebody more familiar with him and Barry Trotz gives him a chance. And now he's a Jack Adams finalist. So just a couple of good examples of coaches that didn't have great records their first time through, but at the same time, and didn't have a ton of championships or accolades on their resume as a coach, but now they're doing great things. So I just want to urge the Sens fan base to be patient here. Listen to Staios and Lauer when they do a press conference about this tomorrow. Listen to Travis Green and just see where it goes. Like I said, it's a 4-year contract. During his 4 years in Vancouver, his record might not have been awesome. It was 133, 147, and 34. But I said he's notorious for having hard training camps. I remember watching, I think it was Ollie Ulevi, if I'm not mistaken, down in the corner puking his guts out because they were skating so hard. So this team will be in shape. He will not be afraid to hold them accountable. As Elliot Friedman said, sometimes he can be a prick, and sometimes teams need that. He's not afraid to be blunt and give you honest feedback. Again, this team was lacking a lot of that, and they're going to get that now. If they're not playing well, they will sit. Messages will be sent. So there's no doubt. But at the same time, he's also going to defend his players as much as he can. Like I know a number of times I listened to Green talk to the media, and he was very much a player's coach in that sense, defending his and deflecting blame and things like that. So at the same time, I really think, is it perfect? Maybe not. We'll have to wait and see. I thought Craig Berube would be a great fit, and at the end of the day, they did talk to Berube. As Friedman said, they did go decent ways down the road with discussions with Berube. Berube doesn't appear to want to commit to Ottawa, and I think that was the biggest issue. He possibly will be going to where Green was in New Jersey. I think he's waiting to see what shakes out in Toronto, if there's an opening there. Berube is at the top of the food chain right now and is able to call his shot. So it's not that Ottawa absolutely didn't want to go there. It's just they mutually couldn't agree to things, and I'm not sure that they've seen Berube as the absolute best fit. They didn't want to wait around forever, and it seems like he's being patient right now to call his shot because he can do that. He's still getting paid by the Blues handsomely. Could money have had something to do with this? Maybe to some degree. We don't know what Green's getting paid, but I'm not saying Michael Landauer is going to be cheap with coaches like we saw Eugene Melnyk, but it doesn't mean he also wants to take this team where it's at and also have a coach making $5, $6, $7 million right away either. So Green kind of balances that out. So I'm not sure what he's getting paid, but I'm sure it's not going to be able to command as much money as Craig Berube can. So at the end of the day, I think this is going to be a coach that meets all the things that you heard Steve Staios talk about that were key attributes that he wanted this person to have. And obviously Dave Poulin's there, as his right-hand man giving advice. So we'll see what happens here. But for right now, Travis Green is the new head coach of the Ottawa Senators. I encourage you all to give him a chance, see where it goes before you get too judgmental. And we'll see how things work out when training camp rolls around in the fall. I know, for example, Brady Tkachuk would know lots of people that would have been under his tutelage before. Obviously, he's good friends with the Hughes family. Jack and Luke would know him from his time in New Jersey. And, of course, Quinn knows him quite well from Vancouver. Lots of people that these people can talk to and get some thoughts. And for the most part, listening to people talk that have been worked with them before, there's a lot of good things to say. So I really think at the end of the day that this is a good hire, and we'll see if it works out in Ottawa. Hopefully, for their sake, it does, because this team needs to move forward, and I know the fan base is antsy to see that happen. So let me know your thoughts on this move by the Sens down in the comments. We'll discuss further. If you're new to the channel, of course, make sure you subscribe and stick around. Lots more news coming today. Very busy day with the draft lottery tonight, so stay tuned. There'll be lots more content here on the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.